now tuned into Real As It Get podcast.
Keeping it real.
Be real, be true, and be yourself. They say the truth will set you free. You have to be real with yourself before you can be real with anyone else. Remember that.
Real As It Get podcast, episode number 4. And we got them coming back to back. Today we got a special guest, the head coach from Berean Christian School, Coach Mario Jackson. What's going on, man?
Hey, I appreciate you, Jennifer, for having me coming in today.
It's good to have you on. You know, like I said last week, man, I just love having football guys on there because I love talking football. You know, whether we talking X's and O's or we talking NFL, whatever it is. You know what I mean? So, my first question: how long you been at Berean?
This is one of my 6th seasons.
I've been in 6th season. Where were you? Where were you before that?
So prior to that, I was the offensive coordinator at Suncoast. Before I got to Suncoast, I was actually I was in healthcare for about 7 to 8 years.
Oh, yeah. So what made you leave healthcare? Money in healthcare, ain't it?
Well, you know, sometimes money doesn't equal happiness.
100%. You're right about that. You're right about that. So when you heard about Berean Christian, like you just went in interviews, you know somebody already, or
no? Actually, so at the end of the season, when they had the Palm Beach County All Stars, the position came open, and at that point, the old head coach, Coach Carney, was actually out there because a couple of his guys from Berean was in the All-Star game as well.
Yeah.
So he caught wind that I possibly had wanted to apply for it and just really didn't know the culture and the chemistry of what was going on at Berean. So he sat down and talked to him and said, hey, listen, man, it's a great opportunity for a young coach coming in. The culture is different. You got to get different between public school and private school. Right. But you should be able to go in and fit right in. And and pretty much what he told me was correct. I was able to go in, and it's been great for them, man.
Got you. So, what has been your biggest accomplishments since being the head coach at Berean Christian?
Honestly, my biggest accomplishment, man, was last season. Had absolutely nothing to do with football. I had 7 guys that got baptized.
That's amazing.
It's amazing.
And me and Chuck, we talked about it on the show, like probably a few episodes ago.
First episode, I think.
Yeah, first episode. We talked about players not knowing anything about Christianity, or they're not even religious now. I work with
people in general.
I work with the youth, and one thing that surprises me, man, is I ask a lot of those kids, do you go to church? Do you believe in God? And a lot of those kids believe in God. I don't believe in God. Why don't you believe? They can't answer that question.
Well, it's hard, man, because what's being taught, and again,
true.
Not trying to talk about anybody's culture, not talking about anybody's religious beliefs and practice, but you can only have an output of what's been input.
True.
Right. 100%.
True.
So I got a question. So being at a Christian school, you know what I'm saying? The football culture and coaches and everything they use a lot of language, cussing and all kind of stuff like that. So how, I guess, is that, so when you're hiring coaches or you bring coaches in, is that something you talk about up front? Like, hey, we gotta speak a certain way. You can't do this, can't do that, or?
Absolutely. So, the main thing is, man, when you're hiring for coaches, I don't care whether you're at a public school or private school, it's about bringing in good dudes.
Right.
It's about bringing in somebody who's going to be able to teach this young man up front what he should exemplify going forward for the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years of his life.
Right.
So, again, you got a coach who may come out there and, have all the foul language in the world, but can't teach a kid how to get in a 3-point stand. So, what's the point of it?
Right. No, 100% understand that. It's a lot of coaches like that.
So when it comes to coaches, how do you determine if a coach is a good fit for you in the program? What are some things you look for? Do you look for more experience, or do you just look for like the person, see if that energy connect with your energy or whatever you have for the program?
It's the energy. Honestly, it's the energy, number one. Number two is, can he affect these young men on and off the playing field? Does he have something to give these guys that's going to stick with them and last for the duration of life when they become dads, when they become husbands? Like, are they going to be able to hold on to that, or are they going to only remember what he taught them about football? And if they only can remember what they talk about as it pertains to football, then that's not it.
Right. So what Coach Jackson is saying is, if you're a young coach, they have an opportunity to grow your staff if they're a great role model,
absolutely,
great mentor.
Absolutely.
What I guess maybe kind of answered it already, but like for a young coach coming in, like what are maybe some practical advice, techniques, skills, keys that you would suggest for a young coach coming in?
Being able to communicate, being able to communicate effectively, and as men, that is one of the toughest things for us to be able to do, because it's kind of like we cut and dry, blah blah blah. That's it. But you got to be very specific, very detail oriented when you're talking about parents,
right? And
to say, you got to be able to speak 4, 5, 6 weeks out at a time, and be able to let parents know what is coming down the pipe versus, okay, we're doing this on Tuesday, we're doing this on Wednesday.
Right.
Well, people got schedules, so you got to be able to fit into what's going on with them. Outside of that, it's really being able to connect with people, and that is a God-given talent. Being able to being able to be discerning and be able to to talk to people. If you and I had a better chemistry, if you walked into the office one day, I'd be like, yo, you don't look right today, talk to me.
Right.
And that's the level of chemistry that you got to have with your guys. That's the level of chemistry that you got to have with the other coaches on your coaching staff. Because up front, like they say, hey, listen, we get ready to start practice. You can't have that attitude right now, man, because it's infectious. So however you come in, the kids gonna see that. So I'm not saying that what you're going through is not important. I'm here to pray for you. I'm here to do whatever I can, but hey, we got to check that before we go outside, because the kids gonna feed off of that.
Right.
No, yeah. I mean, so being at Berean Christian, like, obviously it's a different culture when it comes to just specifically football.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So how would you, I guess, coming from Suncoast to being a Berean Christian, and I know even Suncoast is kind of a little bit of a different than a normal,
you
know what I'm saying, but it's still, especially, years ago, it was a lot more better. But how are those cultures different from being a Berean and being like a regular high school? Regular is the wrong word I want to use, but for lack of a better word, regular.
Honestly, one of the biggest things is understanding that the dynamics of education is number one.
Right.
Number two is having the sense of, even if you don't know who God is coming in as a student, the expectation is, we hope that by the time you graduate within the next 4, 5, 6 years, whatever age group you come in, is that you're leaving with that mantle on you, so that way you're able to have some sense of survival skills once you leave, getting ready to go out into the real world.
That's what's
up. And that's it, man. Honestly, football coming down does it. I can teach anybody anything if I got them long enough.
Right.
So let me ask you, you have a kid come in, 9th grade freshman. This kid comes in as an atheist. What's Berean's approach to pretty much sway him away from being an atheist? Like, do these kids take a Bible class? Because I got a kid who I was just working with, and his parent, he wasn't doing what he had to do in regular school.
Right.
His parents sent him to Christian school. It's not that he don't want to go to Christian school. It's just, I don't want to be in a Bible class. And I'm like, it's not how you think it's going to be. So with Berean, being that they are a Christian school, how do they have a religion class? Like, you have to be enrolled into a religion class?
It's required.
Got you. And is it like a once a year thing or every semester?
No, it's once a year. So you come in as a 9th grader, you have a Bible. 10th grader, and the level keeps increasing as you come.
How in depth? I mean, obviously not in the classroom, but how in depth do they get into, like, when it comes to stuff about the biblical principles?
They go in depth. Yeah, they go in depth. They go in depth, like deep dives.
Right.
Deep dives.
Now, so when it comes to specifically on football, I know the last 2 years have been rough.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Getting those wins in. How are you able to keep kids motivated, and even not just kids, the staff morale? Like, people, everybody. How do you get the morale at a place where it should be when you're not, having success on the football field?
It's really hard. I'm gonna be flat out honest. It's hard because a lot of people measure the success of your program based upon the number of wins that you have.
Right.
But with the first question that you asked me, what's the biggest thing, what's the greatest thing, the greatest accomplishment that I have, is when I talk to parents when they come in, sometimes doing orientation or doing the spring or the fall meeting, I tell them, listen, at the end of the day, there's no coach in his right mind that doesn't love to win.
Right.
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 If he doesn't, he's in the wrong business.
Right.
But at the same token, we also understand that that's not the end all be all. However, I can say, listen, we just had 7 kids who openly gave their life to Christ, who openly had water baptism by immersion. And how much better can you get other than that? Right. Now, if you compound that with wins, you got it.
True.
You got it. But it's really just staying focused, man. Listen, we got to understand we have a young group of kids. Right. And majority of the time I tell them, listen, you're getting ready to go up against a kid who's been playing football for the last 6 or 7 years.
Say that again.
And even as a 9th grade, I try to get my parents to understand, like, so you kind of see the handwriting on the wall a little bit, right? So I went to my AD and I went to my headman and said, hey, listen, if we don't do something about this, we're going to be out of football soon. So I said, can we take our flag football team and turn it into a middle school tackle team? They was like, Coach, we all in with you. But that's because it's going to give them from 6th, 7th, and 8th grade to have that 3 years of chemistry to play with each other. Now, when you come up to varsity, we're all in the same system. Right. So you may not get the full version of what we're doing in varsity, but you're going to get some portion of it. So by the time you come to us, all of the things that we run, you're going to kind of already have done that for the last 2 or 3 years, depending on what grade you start playing.
Right. So as far as like how Chuck mentioned, how do you keep those guys around? I started my organization a few years ago. I would say like the last 2 seasons have been the true developing seasons. Right. And I've noticed that even when it comes to like volunteers, nobody believes in trusting the process. They want it already made. Yes. And that's one of the things that I think will hold anybody, any program, any organization down, because it's like I have a guy I interview him. Seems like a great fit, but I'm speaking from a rec level, but I'm sure you can understand from the high school level.
Absolutely.
You have a lot of coaches now, like we talked about. They want establishment already. Right. Me personally, I'm not that KD guy who is going to go to these 73-9 Warriors. I'm trying to build
KD, man.
But I'm trying to build my own team though. I'm trying to build my own team and have people come to my organization. You know what I mean? And we have these coaches, man, who come in and they're all for it at the beginning, but once they see how much work that it takes to truly build, they all out. And it kind of, I can imagine, you bring a coach on, right? You get 2-3 weeks away from a game. I don't think this is the right fit for me. You know how far that program gets set back? Just because we done wasted X amount of weeks. And this is something I know. Absolutely. Teams that's not winning, they're experiencing this. They're experiencing this. Definitely. You know what I mean? And then they're going to go to a job where, like me, I preach is bigger than football. You know what I mean? So it's just like how he said, guy coming to the office, you see something wrong. Most coaches at other schools who really don't care about you because it's 100% football. They're not trying to know you outside of football. If you're not trying to know a person outside of football, the relationship never going to work because it's boring. You know what I mean? Just like players. How do you win players over now? Baptism, it's definitely different. And he's winning in that aspect because if you go to one of them Palm Beach Lakes, Santa Lucia's, ain't no kids talk about getting baptized. You know why? Because they're not by God, right? Because they're not put in that setting for them to become familiar with Christianity or whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean? So now I'll take that every day because even when it comes to selling kids to my program, you know how I sell them. I can't mention wins. I can't mention championships. Right. I have to sell you around football. And I also have to tell you that just because they play for me don't mean they going pro anyway. They may not play in high school. They may not play in college, and the percentage to play in the NFL is very low. Yes, everybody have that opportunity, right? But it's not guaranteed. Players got to put work in.
No, not at all. So when it comes to football, how are the kids, like when you see, like how are their motivation and when it comes to the process of like off-season training and X's and O's, getting to the book, studying the playbook, and just that drive, that dog, you know what I mean, to win games? How is that, with them?
Now the younger, so the younger group that we just have coming in right now, they have it. I was telling Jawaris earlier that this is probably the current team that I have. They're probably not the most athletic team that I have. They may not be the most talented team that I have, but this is probably the second team out of the last 6 years that has the drive to actually want to do it.
Yeah.
They're young and they're hungry. They got something to prove. So majority of these guys are coming from the middle school team from the last 2 years. Well, guess what the middle school record is for the last 2 years? 10-2.
Oh, yeah.
So nice.
Yeah.
So it's 10-2. So they understand what it means to win. They understand the process. And so Coach Green, who's our head girls varsity basketball coach, he's coaching those guys. And he's instilling them. He's like, Coach, hey, listen, when y'all get the varsity next year, Coach Jackson gonna have that. So hey, y'all better get it now. So unless you're gonna be running to sit on the sideline with him.
Right.
But Coach has had an opportunity to instill that in them. So now they've come from a 10-2 program coming up to us as varsity. Now, those 8th graders who've just come up, they just got their first win in the spring game, and we played against we played against I forgot who played against.
Well, did y'all play the spring game?
Yeah, the spring game. So now that they have that, some of the older guys are like, the young bucks who don't come up is like they're gonna really be able to help us.
Right.
Like I said, as far as the upperclassmen go, I only got 6. I got 3 or 4 seniors and 2 or 3 juniors.
Wow, really young.
Yeah,
really young.
Everybody else sophomore, freshman, 8th graders. But now those 5 or 6 that I have, they're going to be able to, bring those guys in, have some good leadership because of the ability of how they work. One of my top receivers, his name is Dominic Master. Come on, kid, you've seen him. I've seen him grow from freshman to now, and the work that he puts in, his route running is impeccable. Like when I say route running is impeccable, I look at someone like. This is a hard sell, but I want to say it because he's a technician like that. We talking about Jerry Rice, like technician as far as coming in and out of his breaks. He's not the fastest kid, but you're not gonna run him down either.
Right.
Got you.
So he understands the process of how to contort his body, where it be at. He understands zones. He understands man coverage. Like he understands everything about the football field. And now when I have conversations with him, I say, hey, listen. Let's not look at this as a player perspective. You're old enough now to where you can look at it from the coach's lens. And now he's able to do that, his game is going to a different level.
Is he a mentor to other players on the team, other receivers?
Absolutely. Okay. Not only them, but just in general.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah, in general.
Oh man, that's great. Now, when you first got there, I was looking at the schedule. I mean, you was winning.
Yeah.
Before. So what do you feel like that happened with coming from winning to these last couple of years?
So again, so those guys, man, like I said, those guys had impeccable talent. I can't say that they love to play with each other that much.
Right.
Again, but sometimes talent can override work ethic when everything is not in sync. Right. But when you bring a team that's talented and another team that's talented, and the work ethic is the same, then you got a chance to see the difference.
So a lot of egos.
I
know a few players who went to Berean, and one thing that I can say about them just from previous this before me and you connected, once I found out, you went to Berean. One thing that I know those players look for is wins. If a player ain't winning these days, they automatically looking to go somewhere else. So it's not from the education standpoint, because if it was me, I already said, I don't have a son, but I have a daughter. Man, I want him to go to Christian school. You know what I mean? I just want him to go to Christian school. I think that education is way better than the public school system. Not dissing public schools, but I think a lot of those teachers they're not in it for the quick paycheck. I think they actually care for the kids compared to teachers used to be, the average age for a teacher used to be 40 plus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now you go to a public school and this teacher is 22, 23.
It's a lot of young ones.
A lot of young ones, so it's just like young kids' mindset is, I need to get a check.
Right.
You know what I mean? Compared
Right.
to somebody at a Christian school who's like, hey, I want to really help this kid grow
Right.
as an individual, you know, rather as athletically, you know, academically, most importantly. But, you know, these kids who went to Berean, they ended up leaving. Me personally, their situation never panned out how it would have panned out at Berean. As a coach, as a high school coach, what is your thoughts on these kids just leaving these programs year after year, pretty much trying to find a home? So pretty much you spend 2 years developing a player.
Yeah.
You think this player is on your team, you know, all 4 years. They leave. They go to another school. That school ain't a good fit. They go to another school. Do you think there should be a penalty on the number of times a player can transfer?
All right. So if we go back to the late 90s, right, when I came out of high school, if you decided to transfer to another school, you automatically had to sit out a year.
Yes. That's how I was when I graduated in 08.
Yeah, you automatically had to sit out a year. Unless it was a circumstantial situation, mom and dad got a different job, you had to move to a different city, unless there was like some type of, you know, trouble where, you know, you got involved with different fights, you know, a situation that you just couldn't control. But again, I want to say yes, but at the same token, I mean, let's just be real, right? Last year we had 19 coaching changes in Palm Beach County.
Right.
The year prior to that we had 15 to 16.
All right.
The year prior to that we had 14. So and again, to each his own, whatever situation, whatever reason that, you know, a coach may leave a program.
Money.
Can you really say to a kid, you know, you don't have any business leaving when there isn't that type of loyalty to stay and mold your program? And again, I get it, man. I get it. But you know, like I said, I tell all my guys all the time, when I think about my high school coach, I got to high school in 95, 96. He had been coaching since 78.
Yeah.
He had been coaching since 78. He won a state championship in 81 and 82. Now, outside of that, he went to the playoffs pretty much every year. What more can you ask for? That was his element. He wasn't looking to advance his career because he was solid where he was, because he understood where his place was and what he was supposed to do with the kids that was coming under his tutelage.
Right.
And listen, I pay homage to him as much as I can, because he was a cornerstone in everything that I believe in today.
Yeah.
In addition to what my parents taught me. So, you know, when I look back on him, like, hey, man, listen, my coach was the realest. OG, I give him hats off. You know, I talk to his son maybe once or twice, you know, every 3 or 4 months. And I'm like, how you pops doing, man? I tell him I asked about him. Tell him I love him, because, dude, listen, he was everything that we knew as it related to what Palaca football was.
Right.
And when you go back and you talk about Palaca football right now, you cannot mention Palaca football without mentioning Jim McCool. You just can't.
I heard of him before.
You can't.
So, as a high school coach, is one of your goals winning a state championship?
If it happens, yes.
Gotcha.
If it happens, yes. I will. Again, what coaching this right now would not love to win a state championship.
Right.
Gotcha.
But I'm gonna tell you, I'm not going to sell out and miss the boat off of what I believe morally to win one.
Right.
Like, again, if I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do right, and it comes, then it was meant to be.
Right.
Okay, so piggying off that question,
Yeah.
when it comes to, like Chuck said, you was winning.
Yeah.
Last 2 seasons have been tough seasons.
Yes.
At a Christian school, is administration on you heavy about winning, or everybody's all on the same page? Like, it's It's bigger than football.
That's the expectation.
Like the expectation.
It's bigger than football, man.
That's amazing.
It's bigger. But the crazy thing is I'm hard on myself than they are on me. And I'm at my AD's office knocking.
Right.
I'm at my, I'm up there with my headmaster. Hey, listen, what can we do? Because I'm stressing myself out. I can't necessarily say that they're as stressed out as I am, but again, I'm competitive.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what it is. Listen, when I go into my science class, I'm just as hyped in science class as I am when I'm out on the field. And the kids already know. I come and whistle, we blow them, we get it in. You let a joker fall asleep and write in science class. When I'm in there, I'm going straight to them, blowing my whistle. All right, just as I would get on them out on the field, because to me it's competition. At the end of the day, football ain't gonna last for long.
Right.
So you got to understand the outside parts of it. So man. Listen. One of the things that Mr. DePere told me, he said, you know what? He said, I can't necessarily say that I will fire you for losing football games. He said, however, if you're not winning souls, then that's why I draw the line.
Right. Oh, and being at that kind of school, being at Christian school, I mean, that's should be a very high emphasis on, everybody in the school, football, science teacher, reading teacher, whatever, we're doing what you can. But I know being a football coach, like you said, I know you got to be hard on you, especially the last 2 games and everything like that, 2 seasons and everything like that. How, and being at like a Christian school, private schools, they do different things, like far as when it comes to bringing kids in. So how do you get kids in? Because at some point in time, you do got to have the Jimmys and Joes to win. You know what I'm saying? You could be the best coach ever, but if you ain't got nobody to help you win on the field, you know what I'm saying? Don't worry, how at that school, how is your administration? How do you go about, if you do, getting kids to come to the school, buy in?
It's a relationship. So I'll tell you what. So last year we had 17 kids in our roster, 17, 18 kids in our roster. Mm-hmm. By the time we got to week 5, I was playing with 13 kids. 13.
Yeah,
13 kids.
That's tough there.
Yeah, we went to Pompano Beach with 13 kids. 13.
Wow.
2 on the sideline. So the referee turned around and looked at me. He was like, he said, "Where the rest of your team at, man?" I said, look down to the other side of the bench, and everybody that's sitting down there with either a cast on their arm or cast on the leg, that's them.
That got to be tough mentally, man.
It is.
Because you got some people who are just throwing the towel. We're not even trying to compete anymore, man.
Yes.
And you got to look at, obviously, that's smaller than some rec teams.
Yes.
13 kids.
This is smaller than most rec teams.
Right. Wow, that's tough. I can imagine the stress on you as a coach, because you get into a space where you like, what more can I do?
Right.
What more can I do? Just because you only, kids that go to that school, that's pretty much your players. That's it. Wow.
But now, so here's the encouraging part, right? And this is the part that I pick back on to my kids all the time. When you have 13 kids that dress up, knowing going into a game that they only got 13,
right,
and they still got the mindset that we're gonna win. Mm-hmm. That's the part that I have them to hold on to, because it's only a matter of time until we get better, right? And that's it, man. And so that foundation of kids that are coming back this year with the new kids that are coming on, that's why they're able to kind of get that mentality back, like, yo, we young, but we coming, because they got grit. Mm-hmm. They're young. And when I say young, they're not only young in age, they're young and playing football. I got a kid right now that's playing defensive end. He's going to be a heck of a defensive end next year, and then the next year or two. But he's been playing soccer all his life. Mm-hmm. He's 6'1", 160, 170 pounds. He can run, come off the edge, running. Mm-hmm. But again, he's been a soccer player. This is his first time putting on a pair of helmet and a pair of shoulder pads.
So with that, you got new kids coming on that you're trying to get. How do you instill that toughness, that football toughness, into a kid like playing soccer all his life? Yeah. But you see, okay, he's got something. You know what I'm saying? But how do you instill that kind of like that grit, that football dog?
Weight room, man. Weight room. Listen, the weight room will tell you anything about a person.
You're right about that.
The weight room will tell you anything. Listen, I can go outside. Kids can run around circles. Listen, back in college, right? Mm-hmm. DBs talked all day long. All they would do is run. Go inside the weight room,
Right.
you can never find a DB.
That's how I was, man. Weight room was just not my friend at all.
No, off season.
Never find DB.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because that's the main thing I miss about coaching high school football. You know, since I've been out of high school for the last couple of years now, after coaching 10 years, the thing I miss most is that off season, being in the weight room with them. You know, I go in there and lift with them. You know what I mean? Or I won't run with them, but just just be out there. You know what I mean? The off season program was always something that I loved and I miss. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of programs don't put enough emphasis. Now, of course, you got the good teams do, right? You know what I'm saying? But not all programs do put enough emphasis. Like, so when you go into the weight room with those kids, new kids or the kids you got now, like, do that? I mean, do you see the fire in them when they're in that weight room, or do you got to bring it out of them, or like
a little bit of both? But again, when you got kids who've never been in that environment before, you got to instill it inside of them. But then when you got the guys who've been in your program for the last 3 or 4 years, they already know. Hey, when you step through that threshold, you already know what time it is.
Right.
Like, you're there to work. Point blank to end. Rule number 1: there's no playing in the weight room. Rule number 2: there's no sitting. That's all I need to know. That's all you need to know.
How many coaches is on your staff?
I have 4. I have myself and 3 assistants.
Okay.
And then I have 4 on the middle school as well.
Okay.
so then so you have a head coach, and you have a offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, or you just
I'm the OC, and then I have my defensive coordinator, and then I have 2 assistant coaches.
Are those coaches employed at the school? Gotcha.
No. The only coach that is employed at the school is myself and one of my assistant coaches for the middle school team.
So when you have 13 players or 18 players and everything like that,
Yes.
and you only got 4 coaches, how does scheduling work? Like when it comes to scheduling actual practice, how do you schedule as far as running offense, defense, and individual and all that kind of stuff?
So here's the thing. First of all, when you only got 18 players, that means you can't run a full scale offense and defense.
Right.
So you have to run half lines, and that's the part that drove me crazy as a coach, is because you're not really teaching your guys fully. So it's like you're taking part of your offense and saying, okay, hey, listen, so we're going to focus on the front side of the play.
Right.
By the back side of the play is not doing anything.
Right.
And so then you run 10 reps of the front side, then you say, okay, hold up, now let's go to the back side. And now you run everything from the back side. So there's never any chemistry that actually goes into it, so that the whole line has an opportunity to see what everybody is doing. One of my rules is like, listen, you're a football player. Don't tell me that you just play quarterback. You need to know everything on the field.
Right.
So my guys have a really good sense of understanding. If you play outside receiver, you better know slot too. Because if somebody get hurt, and last year was a really good example. I had guys who want to play outside that had to learn how to play slot, and so now they understand what I'm talking about. Like, you are a wide receiver. Don't tell me you just play X or Z outside. Now you got to learn how to play Y and H on the inside. So
What kind of offense do you run?
come on, man. I play tight end, man. Listen.
I mean,
Hey, listen. I play. Listen. I'm put it to you this way. I like to run power football with 11 to 12 personnel. If I don't have 11 to 12 personnel, I figure out how to make it work.
Right.
That's just a football coach. You got to figure it out. So I don't care. Any offensive coordinator can tell you what they like to run, but if you ain't got the personnel to run, then
Facts.
100% right about that. You're right about that.
It doesn't matter what you like to run. You got to figure out what you can run.
Yeah,
That's true.
You got to build it around your player skill set.
Yeah.
Especially when you don't have the numbers to even run everything like you want to. And then too, like I said, I'm trying to imagine running half line. I'm trying to teach zone. I'm trying to teach power. And with power, you got a front side and back, both work. You know what I'm saying? You got a backside guard, or you got a backside tie, however you do it. You know what I mean? You got a backside coming into the front side.
Yes.
I'm sure that's got to be hard to try to implement that in practice and have somebody on the other side. You know what I mean? Taking DBs and having you line up at DN. You know, just stuff like that. So I know that's got to be difficult coming with that. Now, how did is it just when it comes to that kind of thing, you just got it on your own? Did you have to study for it? Did you have to ask questions? Did you have to seek counsel for how to be running efficient practice with a number of...
You just get, listen, this is the first, I'm not going to say the first, in the last 2 years, this is the first time that I physically have not had to step in as a scout team, offensive, defensive, anything. Just because our numbers are actually up and they're good. So I actually got a different perspective from a coach, because I'm actually able to sit afar and look, and now I'm able to teach, which is an awesome thing. But prior to that, I was in with the kids because I want to make sure that we had enough bodies so that way the kids can see exactly what they needed to see. And that is a blessing in itself. So when you're talking about trying to game plan or scheme, you do what you have to do. You know, there's some things that you can be taught. There's things that you got to learn by trial by fire. And you know, as a head coach, as a anything, as a parent, you can have the greatest examples of parents all day long. But you know, when you become a parent yourself. There's just some things that you can't ask questions about. It's right on the spot. You got to figure it out.
You're right about that. I got an 11-year-old son and a 5-year-old girl. I understand. It's just, especially now, like with phones and technology and everything like that. Like, you know, teaching him or teaching her, both of them, to do how I want them to do what they should be doing. It's hard when they got another influence with them 5-6 hours a day. You know what I mean? If I let them, you know what I mean? They'll be on that phone
all day long.
So with that, with the how the technology and everything like that, how has coaching or how has dealing with kids' personalities, you know, whether you teach them X and O's, you teach them life stuff, how has that changed when you got social media and all this other stuff, and their minds are not as focused, I feel like, as maybe other kids before?
Yeah, so here's the thing. So kids are very smart, man.
Right.
Kids are very smart. So they're going to pick up the things that they need to, put down the things that they want to. Things that doesn't apply to them in their moment, they'll put it down. Things that applies to them that's gonna benefit them, they'll pick it up.
Right.
So, you know, you just be straight up honest. Listen, hey man, that right there that you have in your hand is probably one of the best tools that's ever been invented. One false move can change your life for the worse, though.
Right.
And that's the big thing I tell them. Like, listen, I didn't have that growing up. I wanted a pager. My mama, she went off, you know. And with a pager, I don't think you can get his phone numbers across. You can't get pictures. You can't send that, you know. But it's you know, it's the way of the world. So either one of two things. Either as adults, we're gonna adapt to it, or we're gonna get behind. So I would encourage anybody to adapt to it, get out in front as much as possible, learn as much as possible, so that way you can kind of curve what's happening before it happens. You know, as a mentor, as a coach, as a parent, our biggest job is to kind of stay out front of those things so we can kind of be that buffer before things get out of hand. And you know, I mean, as far as my guys go, yeah, some of them are knuckleheads, and they're not a knucklehead. They are a regular 13, 14, 15-year-old, 16-year-old boy. Right. It is what it is. We're going to test the waters as much as we can until we figure out that the water too hot, and then we're like, all right, let me back up off of that. Right. Or sometimes we think we Superman and we're going to try to tread through those hot waters anyway. However the case may be, you got to be there for them, whether it's for good or bad. And that's just where it is, man. So it's just, hey, listen, you got to let them know the benefits of it, and you got to let them know how drastic it can be if it goes to the left.
I got another question. In northern Florida, some of those Christian schools have 8-man football.
Yes.
If numbers got low.
No.
So you ain't go 8-man.
No.
So what's your thoughts on 8-man football? Because you know in the spring, a lot of youth leagues have now picked up on the 8-man. What is your thoughts on 8-man football?
I mean, honestly, it's an opportunity for kids to learn the game, but at the same time, I'm not going to say it's a hindrance, but the field is condensed, the field is short. Hey, put it this way, and this is really bad. I feel the same way about 8-man football as I do going from the NFL to the arena football.
True. So that's a drop off.
Yeah. So it's not the fact that it's a drop off, because it's some dudes that can actually play. Right. It's some dudes that can actually play in the league. It's just not the same. And then when you're trying to transition back to 11-man ball in the spring, you got to think you're going from a 30-yard field to now you got 53, and the space is completely different. So if you're a linebacker, you're trying to get your drops. Yeah. Right. It's different, man.
No, like hey man, I couldn't even really tell you much about it. I mean, how's the line? Is there a what are the numbers?
You pretty much have like 4 linemen.
Or 3.
Or 3 linemen.
Like a guard.
It all
like
depends
center guard,
on,
like center guard?
Yep.
It all depends on how you want to run your setup. Like when we was participating in 8-man, I'm gonna tell you how, like, first off, it was 2 quarters. Like 2 quarters. It wasn't 4 quarters. Two quarters. And running clock, And one thing that I learned late in the season, because I'm going in like literally preparing for like a regular game.
Yeah.
Man, as we got like 3 games in, I'm kind of like, being that it's running clock, you have to get the ball first. You can't say we gonna go on defense.
Right.
That was killing us every single game, because once the team get up on you,
It's hard to come back.
it's hard to come back. Because think about it, they score, you have to stop them next drive. If you can't score it,
Right.
it's over. You know what I mean? Because the clock keep running. I think we only got like 2 or 3 timeouts. So it's like a lot of this stuff in 8-man, like we talked about development. It's literally wildcat. It's literally, you know, if you got a kid who can go down the field and get it, you may have one of those.
Right.
But it's literally a lot of running. It's kind of like 7-on-7 with equipment.
Gotcha.
A lot of like, I'm for it, but I won't let my program participate in it anymore, just because the transition going from 8 to 11.
Yeah.
Those kids ain't learning nothing, because it mainly focuses on the skill guys. So they're not focusing on no line.
So speaking of 7-on-7, do you guys do 7-on-7 like far as travel?
Every now and then we do. So there's one tournament that we play in every year, which is put on by our conference, which is the SSAC. So we go to Orlando every year. Actually, we're going next weekend. So we go once a year, and it's some talent, man. We play against OCP. We'll play against Mount Dora Christian. We'll play against Tampa Carrollwood Day. We'll play against Lakeland Christian. Let's see. We'll also play against Santa Fe Catholic. You'll play against Oak Hall up in Gainesville. So I mean, it's some teams, you know, that's gonna be there. So yeah, I mean, we do as much as we can. If we're able to do anything local, we do. But again, with the numbers that we've had in the last 2 years, I kind of stepped away from it just because I want to need those guys to get developed. That's what we're doing.
You don't want to go out there and get embarrassed.
Hey, it has nothing to do with getting embarrassed, man.
True, but it's like, I'm not gonna say it's an embarrassment. I look at it like, even with my program, teams been blowing me up saying, "Hey, let's get some preseason work in," right?
Yeah.
So it's like, for me, it's really not embarrassment. It's more of, I don't want to get my players out there, and you know how everything now is taunting.
Yeah.
I don't want their pride to just get crushed, like they're just not a great football player. Obviously, me, the coaching staff, we see that they're good players.
Right.
But when we take them to these events, those players have been playing this way longer than the kids that we currently have. So it's kind of like, I choose not to participate in those events only because I don't want my kids' pride to get crushed. Let's try to continue to build it up much as we can. When you guys are ready, then we take that next step.
Yeah, you know, I definitely agree with that. My philosophy is sometimes a little bit different, but I am who I am, man. But I want those guys to see that competition.
Me too.
I want them to see it because I want them to understand that it's bigger than the little circle that you surround yourself with every day.
Right.
And you know, you talk trash every day about, you know, how you the best wide receiver, and you know, and sometimes you know, like I hear your conversation, I kind of look at you sideways. I'm like,
Right.
I can put my shoes on right now. I'm straight, you know. But I like for them to see that because it's a whole different world from what they see in the pond that they're currently swimming in.
Right.
And I want them to be able to elevate themselves mentally, physically, and understand that there's work that has to be done so that way you can get to the level that you see these other guys are playing at. Because sometimes, you know, you think you're really working hard, you're really not.
Right.
But when you go see this kid over here that's, you know,
John and Ray.
and the crazy thing is that, you know, it's not that his stature is bigger than yours. He's 5'7", 5'8", just like you, and he's 155 pounds just like you. But when he take off, you gonna see that 4'6".
What's better name?
That 4'5".
What's better name to play at Lakes? Derek. He like that.
Yeah.
He like 5'6".
That's how he is.
When he take off,
But he's an animal.
it's
though.
a different.
Yeah, athlete. He's just an athlete. Like, it's in him, and I think that's one of the toughest things to get like kids these days are now like light switches.
All right.
They just don't come to the field ready. You gotta push them and push them. Yo, man, turn that switch on, man. It's time for you to crank up.
Yeah.
You know, but how you say you're a competitive person. I'm a competitive person too, right? And We found this team in Gainesville a few years ago. They was called Chiefland Indians. Little small. You familiar about them?
Yes,
So
Blue and yellow.
yeah,
Blue and yellow. Yeah.
Like,
They had players a couple years ago, man.
so check it out. So we, I never knew anything about them. Little small town, right?
Yes, sir.
So I scheduled a game.
Yeah, they got some animals over.
I scheduled a game with the coach. Now keep in mind, this was a team that we had. It was like that 14U team. Oh my God, the hype leading up to that week, because they didn't have a lot of film, but you saw pictures on them of social media.
Yeah.
Man, all my players like, boy, we finna go destroy them. We finna go destroy them.
Yeah.
Listen, we get up there in Chiefland, embarrassed us. I'm talking about, this was the year, I think the average size of a player on my 14U team, like a lineman, literally minimum 235. Chiefland, they probably had one or two guys that weight, and everybody else was probably 185 and under, right? Chiefland went up there and manhandled us. That still haunts one of my commissioner. It still haunts him every day, because that was his team. And it was kind of like, you guys literally underestimated these players just because you was the guys. Oh, social media, let me go. Oh boy, we finna put on. Got out there on that field, boy. Who are you?
Yeah.
Came back home, quiet as a mouse. Quiet as a mouse.
Chiefland got some animals up there.
Well, here's the thing, man. You gotta understand. So I'm from a small town. I'm from Palaca, which is literally 40 miles east, maybe 50 miles east of Chiefland. When you have a community, same thing as Bell Glade and Pokey. When you have a community of kids that grow together from 5 to 18, what do you expect? Like, they know each other like it's clockwork, man. Like, I can look across the field at one of my teammates and wink at him and be like, gotcha. Because that chemistry has been instilled and embedded in them for so long, and they understand what it means. Now, when you talk about a big metropolitan city, you may have kids from one kid from Wellington, you may have one kid from Boynton Beach, you got another kid from Boca. So they don't get a chance to march, podge, and be around each other like that. You know, they don't know what it's like to go kick it with each other and, you know, go hang out and do it. But that was us all day long. Like, listen, we had fun going out to the river, jumping in off the dock, and we were swimming. And that's the culture when you talk about those small areas that North Florida football. That's it, man. Those kids have been playing together since they were 5.
I grew up in Avon Park, Florida, and that was one thing that I liked about just the city itself. You know, my mom met my stepdad here, and I had to commute back and forth to West Palm. I'm like, man, I hate this place. You know what I mean? Just because I was so used to just being around kids that I knew since 4 or 5 years old. Now you come to a city, I just may not see my best friend no more. When I can go outside and knock on his door. Because now, even how you said, you know, different areas of the city, kids don't interact with each other physically anymore. You got that phone.
Yes.
I can message somebody on Facebook or Twitter or something like that, and it's like, even with me from a recruiting aspect, how do I get kids to join my program? I have to promote heavily on social media. I have to figure it out. Is that something you do with, like, how does Coach Jackson recruit a player? Or at least show interest?
That's the wrong word. Can't say recruit. How do you promote your program, Coach? How do you promote your program?
We don't use the word recruit.
How do you promote Berean Christian?
Well, listen, when I say recruit, I'm talking about for me.
Promoting. You don't promote.
I'm talking about for me, for the youth program. I'm recruiting. Coach Jackson ain't recruiting.
If somebody was asking you about your program, how would you promote your program?
I tell them straight up exactly what it's about. You know, I tell them I put as much information on Twitter and I put as much information on Instagram as I can about my program, just so the way it stays relevant in front of people. You know, one thing that I have not done as much as I wanted to, you know, I'm not out in the community as much as I want to be, just because I'm so engulfed. I'm trying to figure out how to get this thing right. You know, when I leave, it's 10, 11 o'clock at night anyway. I'm going home. I'm going to kiss my wife. My kid's not already asleep. I'm go hang out with them for a little bit, and then once I put them to bed, wife go to bed, I'm at the kitchen table with the laptop. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Shut it down. Wake up next morning 5:30, 6 o'clock. Give me 2 or 3 cups of coffee, and I'm back at it again. But it's really building a relationship with the kids and the parents that you have, so that way what's the best word of advertisement?
Word of mouth.
That's it. So when you have parents and when you have kids that you have done right by, that you have been able to promote, they will take your name and they'll put seeds out for you. There's a lot of things you don't have to really do yourself. You just got to do your work on the back end. But as long as you treat those kids and you treat those parents right, and you are doing everything fair, and they see that you're not just for the kid just because of football related gains or anything athletic related gains, and like those are the things that spread your name. Listen, hey, our team is comprised of 40% homeschool kids. So I have 15 kids in the program that are stationary at school, and I have 10 kids that are homeschool kids. I don't know the homeschool kids area, but we have homeschool kids that come and play for us. But after they've been in the program 2 or 3 years and building that relationship with them and their parents, when they graduate, guess what they do? They go back to the homeschool meetings and unions. Say, hey, if your kid want to play football, I got a great program for you. Coach Jackson, he treated us right, and so that buy-in and flowing of homeschool students has always been revolved around my program, and that's a big part of my program. So I make sure it has nothing to do with homeschool, but I make sure I take care of all of my guys so the way they understand when they leave, that's my promotion.
Got you. And when I asked about that, I asked because I've seen schools like Cardinal Newman run Facebook ads. Yep. And once they run those Facebook ads, they have a picture of their football team on there. Do you think, you being the head coach, you can go back to admin officials for the school and say, hey, just for the school's sake, can we run these ads to try to, draw some attention to our school? You think they'll bite for that?
Absolutely. I mean, so we have a Facebook page at our school, and we do a really good job of promoting theater, football, soccer, track. I mean, we do a really good job of that. Again, you got to understand the day and times, right? So we're in the process of getting ready to have like an athletic field put together. So being that it is an athletic field, that may give us some cloud of some validity, saying, hey, this school trying to move in the right direction. So it may be time that we start to think about Berean Christian, before we think about a King's Academy or a Cardinal Newman or a Benjamin, whatever the case may be, because I'm like, we're coming. Yeah, we're off. It takes everybody, like you said, it takes everybody time to get their program going. Yeah. Then people say, hey, Coach, man, when you gonna leave Berean? I'm not.
That was one of my questions. I was gonna ask one of my questions.
Why? Why would I? Why
would he?
The biggest thing is, man, is like, my AD and my admin, they give me full autonomy on my program. Number one, they trust me to run it the right way. They know they're not gonna get embarrassed by it. And at the end of the day, they know that I'm there for the kids, not because of some type of gain to put my name in the paper or to put my name out there to become the next head coach at whatever high. Right. Is that I'm doing this because I'm really concerned about these kids, and once their name is out there, I had a kid that I coached at Lake Park Baptist, and I saw him in the Chick-fil-A line the other day. It was yesterday, and he said, Coach, man, he said, I want to thank you because of all the information that you taught me doing flag football. He was like, those lessons, I'm getting ready to be a junior in college. He's like, but those lessons that you taught me has given me what I need to be able to go and talk to people. My degree is in business admin. He was like, but I work for a Chick-fil-A corporation. He was like, I'm gonna own me a Chick-fil-A one day because of the competitiveness that you taught me. I'm like, dude, like, you got it, because that's what it really is. Right. So once you understand once you understand how to become a competitor, period. It doesn't matter whether it's football, basketball, baseball, but you take those lessons that we learn in sports and apply it to life itself, then we won.
Yeah. Like, so do you run it? I'm pretty sure every coach does. He run into problems of other coaches or other coaches trying to recruit your kids. Like, they see a kid that you have that you be pretty good. They say, let me try to get them. Do you run into that problem where other schools are recruiting your kids?
I'm sure I do. I'm sure I do. I have not seen or heard about a specific example. But I would be foolish to think that it doesn't happen. You know, and I'm not one of the type of people that say, you know, I got a new person, I'm trying to hide them, cover him up.
Right.
You know, if he or she is gonna be with me, then they're gonna be with me.
Right.
But like I say, I'm gonna promote you the best I can, so that way, not only is it gonna help us, but it's also gonna help you as well. You know, one thing I tell the parent, like, I cannot promise that your son and daughter will get a scholarship, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I have a good number of coaches in my toolbox that I can call and reach out to, and if that's the path that you want to take over the next couple of years, then let's sit down and talk for real about what it's going to really take to get you to that next level. And listen, and like I said, if you go and take a look at my Instagram or my Twitter, you don't see anything in there personal. Everything that you're saying there is going to be sports related, because that's where I'm trying to go with that. It has my name and face on it, but when you look at it, it's really representing Berean and everything that we stand for.
Right. We so like when it comes to recruiting, like when it comes to college recruiting, I mean, every kid, you know, I mean, I know not every kid wants to play college football, but of course, you know, every program you have some that do.
Yes.
I mean, how do you or I guess what is the, do you have a lot of kids with the aspiration to play college football, and then when the ones that do, how do you go, or like maybe you just said it, but how do you go about getting those kids recognition or recognized, or like, or you know, because I would say, because sometimes as coaches, we got to be real with the kids when it comes to like their expectations of like playing college football. So I guess I maybe asked 3-4 questions at once, but like, what are your thoughts or your how college recruiting?
So honestly, the first thing I do before I even send off a recruiting sheet to colleges, I talk to the players and their parents, and I'm like, listen, let's figure out what we're really trying to do, and come up with a game plan. And some people get upset, and it's okay. And I tell them it's okay, because sometimes we I don't want to say that you're in your feelings, but a lot of people don't understand the process.
Right.
So if I'm honest and upfront, and people can accept that honesty, then we have a lot of leeway to try to figure out how we get you to the next level. And that's really it. You know, a kid tell me, and again, you know, you got a kid that's 5'8", play wide receiver. He gonna tell me, coach, I'm going to Division I. I'm looking, I'm like, Chief, you know, unless you get ready to run the 4.3, and you know, then there's no possible way. You know, and you know, and people like, well, coach, how you gonna tell him that? And this is what I first I say, listen. You're married, right? When you saw your wife, what's the first thing you noticed about her? They're like,
bye.
How she look? I'm like, well, okay, I said it's the same thing when you want to play football or any other sport. They're gonna look at you and they're gonna say, he's 5'7". No.
Right.
He's 6'3". Yes. Now, at that point, then you figure out, you know, what the personality is like on the inside, and you know, you go and do all the you know, all the other additional check-ins. But at the end of the day, if I'm a recruiter and I see a 6'3", 6'4" wide receiver, I'm looking at him and I say, I check. All right. So let's move to the next step. Can he run? Check. Can he catch? Check. Coach, what is his attitude like? Question mark. You know? Grades, 3.5. Check. Pass ACT, SAT, got a 25. Check. All right?
What if he lack game film though, but everything else is a check? Lack game film, haven't been given an opportunity.
Coach.
Well, if you're 6'4", you ain't got a game for this problem.
Coach.
Okay.
Now listen. Now game film is a top priority, right? Now, let's say that he has a few plays. You can look and you can tell whether or not that person is going to be able to contribute based upon what you have to offer as a coach.
Right.
And the biggest thing is, on a collegiate level, I can teach you as long as you're willing to be coachable. 6'4", I can teach you as long as you're willing to be coachable. All right. Now, if I come to your coach and your coach say, you think you everything, you're not coachable, then not everything else go down to the wayside. But with that being said, I spend a lot of time with Division II, Division III, and NAIA coaches. All right. So 2 years ago, I had a kid by the name of Tyler Kirsch. Played.
I heard of him.
He played slot receiver for me. You know, he 5'10", 5'10" and a half, 5'11" at the most. Could run legit 4'6", 4'5". Caught some balls, dropped some balls. I had to be honest.
Right.
But kid had a 4.3. You know, he had over 1,200 on his SAT.
Yeah.
Now, had he been an inch taller, he could have easily went to Princeton, Yale, Dartmouth, Harvard.
Right.
And again, but that 1 inch was crucial to them.
Right.
So, you know, but he ended up going to Rose-Hulman, which is the #1 engineering school in the country. And, you know, he was able to go and he was able to showcase himself. You know, but he got a full ride.
Can't beat that.
You can't.
You know, going to college recruiting, like, you know what I'm saying, I'm a short player, short person. I was always playing, you know, I didn't think back then that I was, you know, good athlete or whatever, but I didn't even realize what I tell players now. When you're short, I'm like, listen, you have to jump off the screen. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're 5'6", 5'7", 5'8", 5'9", 5'10", you have to jump off the screen, because I feel like even if, you know, me as a coach, I'd be like, damn, that kid's 6'2", you 5'11". I mean, I can, you know what I'm saying? I can't coach 6'2". You know what I'm saying? You know, you just born with it. You know, so I tell a lot of shorter players, whatever, small players, like, you have to literally jump off the screen. Your film has to be different than the 6'4" kid. Yes. Like, you gotta and it's gotta be in the first 2-3 plays.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta take that slant 60 yards to the crib.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? If you're playing DB, I mean, you gotta be going up the top over somebody's head and also somebody. You know what I mean? So and is that something that you have to tell players, or do you tell your players that kind of thing? Like, absolutely. Hey, listen, like, your film gotta be different.
No, absolutely. Listen, I had a kid, maybe 3 years ago. His name was Caleb Fix. He played middle linebacker for me. Mm-hmm. Now, if you know Caleb is 5'8", 5'9", 5'10" at the most, right? 165, 170 pounds. And like, he worked his butt off to get to 170 pounds, right? So now this type of kid, you probably think he's gonna play cornerback. Listen, he held the middle down for us, hands down.
Right.
Listen, when the screen came on, all you see was number 24 running sideline to sideline, and his motor was impeccable. He was so smart. He saw the play before it happened. But like, when I talk to recruiters, I'm like, listen, this kid right here, he's gonna look at film and he's gonna dice. He's gonna be able. He can tell you the game plan before you look at the film and tell him what the game plan is gonna be, because when he looks at film, he looks at it from a coach's point of view. He doesn't look at it like a fan. Mm-hmm. He's not sitting there eating popcorn like, yo, he just got smoked. No, he's looking at it like, okay, all right, 2 back. Okay, get 2 back. I got it. Okay. Empty set. You know, he's really he's breaking everything down, and he's gonna look at it from percentage wise. Like, hey, coach, hey, listen, they line up and empty, you know, 5% of the time, but the rest of the time, you know, they got 2 back and 1 back. Like, let's go. But he got it. He understands it. And I mean, like, when you get a kid that's committed to that level, it doesn't. I'm not gonna say it doesn't matter, but 9 times 10, it doesn't matter what your stature is. Like, there is a place for you. The question is do you really want to go where that place is? Right. You know? So, you know, somebody like that, you may have to go to Iowa to play football. Mm-hmm. Is football that important when you're going to want to go to Iowa? Mm-hmm. The answer is yes and no. And that's why I tell them, listen, dude, you got to understand. You're probably going to end up in NAIA or Division III. Can you make it? Yeah, you can. Had 2 kids that, you know, Pierre nephew that went up to Mount Union. I also had actually one of my offensive linemen, my cornerback, and one of my receivers. They went to Mount Union 2 years ago. It's in Ohio. All 3 of them up there playing right now. Mm-hmm. Do they like Ohio for the cold from a Florida boy? No, they don't. But they're tough kids, so they're not going to come back home just because it's cold. Like, they understand why they're there. Right. They're gonna go and take care of business for the next 4 or 5 years. They're gonna come on with a degree because that's what it's all about. Right. You know, they're using their athletic abilities to get that degree,
get that paper.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, when football is said and done, like, yeah, it may be done, but my career just started. I got my degree.
For real, I need that, and that's how my mentality was, man. You had a player, I know him. The player ended up leaving your school, ended up going to another school, didn't pan out. And how you mentioned game time, like, this kid academically He was there. Height, there. Humble, there. It's just the school that he went to didn't appreciate that, because you had another kid or two who had the same traits as this kid.
Right.
Probably from the academic standpoint, no low twos or whatever. But this kid, the parents want the kid to go D1. Right? Like, whenever I had conversations, the parent want him to go D1. The kid doesn't have the film. As a coach, you know, as a mentor, I'm trying to assist the kid and say, hey, I definitely know you have the potential to play at the next level. It's just about now finding you a home. How do you feel about a parent, you know, just pushing for D1, 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 and their kid lacks the game film? Everything else checks off except the game film. Do you tell the parents, like, hey, you know, let's try to push for a walk-on? But keep in mind, I presented this. We don't want to do walk-on. We want D1. So it's like D1 or nothing. We need that scholarship. And like, what is your take on that? Like, what would you tell a parent?
Gotta be realistic. Flat out honest. Again, if you're honest and upfront with parents, either one or two things: they're either gonna hate you or they're gonna love you, and that's just how it is. And one of the things I kind of tell parents is like this: when it comes to Division I kids, Division I kids promote themselves. Not saying from a coaching perspective, not saying that you don't push the envelope and that you don't put the names out in front of coaches, but again, the Division I kid will stand out, again, like you said, if they got the game film. When they click that film on, even though they may be checking out another kid, coming to screen and be like, yo, let me run that back again. Like, he sets himself apart. He sets himself apart by standards. He sets himself apart by the physique. He sets himself apart because he runs everywhere he goes. Or if she's shooting the lights out, or she's running track. Like, there's something. Do y'all like theater?
It's okay.
It's okay.
I like movies.
You like movies. but okay, so you watch a good movie, right?
Yeah.
So in the process of watching a good movie, you like, man, it's just something about that character, or it's something about it, and it may not be a main character, but somebody in the background, you're like, man, I just can't take my eyes off. Like, that guy, that girl is gonna come back in a later scene, and it's gonna be something about her that's just gonna pop up in the movie.
Right.
But she's noticeable, or he's noticeable, and that's the way it is. And we just have to be real and say, listen, I cannot necessarily say that your child is not Division I material. It just may not be right now. So if it's not right now, then what other avenues can we go to get him or her to that level?
Right. I mean, when it comes to Division I, one thing about especially South Florida kids, they only know Division I. You know what I'm saying? They only know Florida State. They only know Florida, Miami, and everything like that. So you got to almost basically teaching them, hey, listen, obviously know FAU and FIU here, but just like, listen, there's a million other FCS schools. There's a million other Division II and schools like that.
Right down the street.
You got Kaiser right down the street and everything like that. I mean, when it comes to Division I players and players who were trying to get there, when I was coaching, I'd let them know up front, like, nah, you ain't Division I. You know what I'm saying? You may be FCS or you may be Division II, which are still good schools. You know what I'm saying? You can get a Division II, may not get full scholarship, but they give enough that's close.
Yeah.
Some schools anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta tell them up front, or now you gotta just be real with them, like, you're not that level. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a difference between, when I was at Palm Beach Central, my last year they had Brian Robertson. Like, Brian Robertson was a different animal compared to other kids. Like, and then, you know what I'm saying? So, like, when kids try to talk to me now, like, I would compare them to that. Like, this kid, are you that kid? Are you close? If you're close, hey, all right. But if you ain't that, that's what Division I look like. He's in the weight room. He put together. He's running every play. You know what I'm saying? Hey, he's not taking plays off. You know what I'm saying? He's 9 out of 10. He's not 9 out of 10. It's 10 out of 10 plays. He's gonna try to be a dog and he's gonna let you know that I'm bigger and badder than you. Maybe not with his words, but with his play. You know what I mean? So sometimes you gotta be real. Like, this is what a Division I receiver looks like. This is what a Division I whatever looks like. Now, on the flip side, parents don't always want to hear that.
True.
You know what I'm saying? But you got to paint the picture in front of them. Like, I'm a big proponent on, like, putting up the mirror. You know what I'm saying? I talked about it before. Just putting up a mirror. Like, this is you, this is them. Do you think you're as good as that person? You know what I'm saying?
And it wasn't necessarily that the kid couldn't play. It's just.
But you only put in what you promote. Like if you know what I'm saying, you could, if I could be the best, whatever. But if I don't have no film to show, that's just my mouth. Like it don't. Right. I can say him.
And then you think too, you 6'4". You know how many other 6'4" receivers we can find?
You still have to put film.
You still need the film. So with a situation like that, I think, like me personally, as a father, as a coach, rather than go with the hype, I want to go away from the hype. Mm-hmm. Put me at a school where I can get a little bit of shine, that I can bring some attention towards them. So you got to look at it. If you went to the bigger school and you ain't get 20 receiving yards, but you went to the smaller school and at least got 450, 500,
right?
I at least got film.
Yes, sir.
I can at least work it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I can at least, okay, coach, you see what I can do. Now when you just got a 30-second, highlight tape, you know what I mean, that really don't benefit you. Like, you pretty much, obviously there's a coach that will probably give you a chance, but once again, it's up to them, and are you willing to accept the lower plate? You know what I mean? It's not going to be D1. Realistically, NAIA, D3, and like you said, there's so many opportunities now for these kids.
I mean, HBCUs.
Even HBCUs.
Even prior to this, before Deion Sanders got there, HBCUs was still a great school. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Shout out Deion Sanders, whatever. But like you know what I'm saying? A 6'4" kid, he could go there. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, you still had a film and everything like that. But like we gotta promote that a lot of times. And like James Madison, or you know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely.
Sam Houston, or whatever, you know what I mean? Those kind of schools, man. Like, there is not enough promotion of those kind of schools. Also, because they don't kind of recruit like that either. But, that's another issue for another day. But we have to do those promotions of those kind of schools as a coach. You know what I'm saying? You have to, just listen. I remember I took a kid, it was like, I just printed out a list of, all the FCS schools that's out there. I said, listen, this is all FCS full scholarship schools. Yes. You know what I'm saying? This is what we need to be looking at. We need to be, now, do you want me to try to push that? And do we need to try to push it now, as opposed to now that I don't got no Division I offers? Okay, coach, let me get somewhere else. But by that time, those schools already they get good quality players. Like, you know what I'm saying? They already got their roster and everything like that. So that's one thing. The Division I thing. Like, it just always, even when I was coaching, it's always hurt me. Like, bro, there's other schools out there.
Well, and that's one thing that I try to tell my parents. Like, so I tell you, when I first came to Berean, man. We did 2 years of camp season, right? So I took the kids, Southeastern camp trip. So first year we went up to Georgia Tech. First year we went to Georgia Tech and Georgia State. Mm-hmm. Second year we went to Mercer, Sanford, and Georgia Southern. And again, the kids had good showing. They had an opportunity. But the biggest thing I try to tell parents going forward is that I've kind of shifted in how I handle camp season right now. Mm-hmm. Is because a lot of the kids are still developing, right? Mm-hmm. So when you go to your Division I programs, or you go to some of the Division I FCS programs, they've kind of established themselves in a way where they can. Everything is going to be a talent seeking show. Right, whereas you're not getting any type of, you're really not getting taught anything. Right. So now at this point, when I got kids that are young in their process and in their program, like, listen, let's go find a school. No, it may not be a Division I school, or if it is a Division I school, like, I want you to get taught something versus you just going to do a 40, a short shuttle, a L drill, a vertical jump, and then you only hit 1 out of the 4 metrics. And then you only hit 1 out of the 4 matches. It's already a downhill battle. Like, they're not looking to anymore at that point. Right. And so that was one of my. I tell you, that was one of my biggest mistakes early in my head coaching career. That I was like, I should have really thought about that a little bit different. So now that I kind of come back full circle, I'm like, listen, if I have a kid who can go to a Division I school and be able to live up to those standards, go to camp all day long. But if I have a kid who's not there yet, let's go and learn. So I want to get you around some college coaches now. They know that they've personally taught you. They know that you are now coachable. Not only can you figure stuff out, they know that you can figure stuff out that they're trying to teach you on the spot, and you can figure stuff out fast. And that's how, and people take note of that. And I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of people fail to realize is that, when you put a kid in front of a coach that he's personally coaching, now, yes, again, he's going to have 3 or 4 more camps the regular season, but if you make an impact, that's going to stay on the person.
True. It's
going to stay on the person. He's going to have that card like, yeah, man, this kid from Berean, hey, next 2 years, man, he may have something. So I'm gonna start his name, and even if he leaves, whatever that school is, it's still there. And and that's another thing that we have to make sure that we do as coaches. Listen, the coaching carousel is crazy in college. It's crazy, right? So we got to make sure that we do our due diligence and stand on who's leaving, who's going. And that in itself is you need a secretary for that just to sit down and say, hey, let's figure out where where the landscape of all these college coaches going,
especially assistant coaches.
Okay, because most of them only got 2-year contracts, so but that's the name of the game. So we got to do our due diligence, making sure that we stay on top of that, so that way we can make sure our kids are put in the limelight to again, if they have the ability, if they have the drive, if they have the grades. So that way we can make sure that we're doing our due diligence to make sure that we're getting them somewhere if they have the ability to do it.
So, what's your take on these high school athletes getting these NIL deals? Kid in Miami just what is it, like $9 million?
Something like that.
Something like that. What is your thoughts on that? Do you think it hurts the game?
So listen, I'm gonna answer that way. I'm gonna answer this question circumventing. My junior year, senior year in college, right? Full ride at UCF. Couldn't get the Pell Grant because my parents made enough money where I couldn't get it. So Thanksgiving, our house caught fire, burned down, halfway burnt down. So I went back to my compliance office. Hey, listen, man, I never asked for anything. Extenuating circumstance, man. My parents' house, burnt down. They're not able to give me my little, monthly allowance that they gave me. What can the school do for me? All right, let me check and see what we can do. You're right. You never asked for anything, and he came back a couple of days later. Mario, we can't do nothing for you. We apologize, but at the same token, as a 20-year-old kid, I'm like,
trying to hear that.
Right. It's not even that, but as I'm older now, I look back, I'm like, for the last 3 years, dude, I've given y'all everything that I have on the field, off the field. Never missed class, never missed study hall, never got in trouble, never missed practice, never missed a weightlifting session. Nothing.
Right.
So, at the same token, I get it. I get it. Does it change the landscape? Absolutely. But you take a kid, man, listen, you take a kid that's 17, 18, 19 years old, who's not getting any money at all in college, just enjoying college life in general.
Right.
Finds a way to get in trouble just because they're still in the process of maturing and growing as a young man. Put $1,500 on that. I'm not even talking about $1 million.
Right.
I can do it $1,500 as a college student.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I got a place to stay.
Okay.
I got food.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can chill. Yeah. I can chill because I got money in my pocket.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's $1,500.
Right. Now you talking about 9 million, 1 million, whatever.
You talking about $1 million? Now, listen. I'm all for it as long as they have a strong mentor that is speaking life into the situation, that can teach them the right things to do with that money.
Right. Because it's life changing.
Listen. Again, like Deion Sanders said a week or 2 weeks ago, I'm making more money than my assistant coach at that point.
Right.
And if I'm not humble enough to understand what position I'm in, what can you tell me as an assistant coach right now?
Right.
Nothing.
100%. Like I said, I saw it on the some news article. They was talking about high school players in Texas getting it while they're still in high school. And I'm like, And I know some coaches was like, oh yeah, you know, all for it, or, you know what I'm saying? But if a kid's getting that kind of money in high school, it's already hard to corral a high school kid now who's getting nothing. Imagine if he's getting more money, way more money than you. And then you trying to get them to come to practice and go to the weight room and don't do this, don't do that. Like it'll be impossible to you know what I'm saying, get them. And kids every year is getting harder and harder and harder to corral them.
So do you think the mindset with these NIL deals being that they're huge, do you think the mindset is still I gotta go to the NFL? Because when I was growing up, if you was an athlete and you wanted to touch $1 million, the only way you was gonna touch that is you going to the league. Now you're high schooling. NIL deal can be whatever, exceed the millions. Is the mindset still NFL? Or do it die down a little bit? Or you think it just varies from player to player?
I think it varies from player to player. Like if it's in you, man, and that's really where you want to go, you're gonna do what it's gonna take to get there. Now again, like I said, the bumps in the road, depending on how you deal with whatever is coming with that amount of money, is gonna determine how you get there.
True.
But you got to stay, again, it's hard enough to stay humble when you are put on the pedestal by colleges because of who you are without making any money at all.
Right.
And then you change the dynamics and say, here you go. It's that's just the nature of the beast. You know, I could think about different opportunities, and like I said, I was at UCF. This was the late '90s, early 2000s. Just the access that we had to different places, with nothing.
Right.
So now here I am with $100,000 in my pocket.
Yeah.
These had Porsche deals.
You know,
you was there with Ryan Schneider, was he?
that's my boy. Yeah.
I went to Park High School.
Okay.
Yeah, so I graduated 2004. So
that's
my boy Moffitt, Steve Moffitt was
Moffitt, that's it.
Yeah, I was just wedding a couple weeks ago. Yeah, my boy there. Yeah.
So, what teams are you looking forward to playing this season, or a team that you know, rivalry game? Do Berean have a rivalry?
I mean, we typically have our rivalry game against local Christian. Okay. We typically play St. Edward's every year. So, you know, I think that we have a good relationship with Coach Firth down at Pompano Beach, and so I think that may be a game that we just, you know, may try to make sure that we get in our schedule every year because, listen, that program is a good dude. You know, that the program is good. Coach Firth is a good dude, and I can play against somebody like that on a year in year out basis because you know, again, they're fighting the same fight that we're fighting, and he's at a public school, so we both get it. But you know, I'm looking forward to it. You know, I haven't had a chance to really talk to him since last season, but you know, I know he's starting to get some. You know, they're starting to get some kids in now, so you know, Pompano Beach kind of getting themselves on the map a little bit from a standpoint. You know, being that they're surrounded by the powerhouses that they're surrounded by. Right. So again, if you get the 3 or 4 kids in every year and you're able to build that, then you know you should be able to do something on the next couple of years. But you know, I'm excited about those couple of games. Honestly, I'm excited about every game, man. It's an opportunity for the kids to play. You know, it's the opportunity for me to see how good I am at my job. So again, teaching them, elevating them, then it lets me know where I'm at. You know, what boxes I can check off. So you know, if the kids don't meet their standards and stuff, then you know, then I got to go back and look at myself and say, okay, what did I miss? Because if they're not getting it, then that means I'm not getting it.
True. Right. Real as It Get podcast, episode number 4. We're here with Coach Jackson. Tell the people how can they find you on social media.
All right, so you can go to my Twitter page. I'm at Coach_Jack 83, and it's the same thing at Instagram. It's Coach_Jack 83. You can also that's it, man. You know, so you know, definitely look out. I also got some things that I put out. You know, I try to put out weekly, not only about football but just in general life. And I'm a big advocate of making sure that coaches are taught, because we got to perfect our craft as well. So you know, if you think that, you know, if as you're a coach, you think that, you know, maybe you can't learn anything else, then that lets you know you're on the sinking ship.
Where's the school located exactly?
So our school is off of Okeechobee, right before you get to Sainsbury. So so when you drive down, it is our school is in the partnership with Grace Fellowship Church, and so the school sits right off to your left as you're driving out west on Okeechobee Boulevard.
Gotcha.
So I definitely want to partner with you. I definitely want to set some up just because I'm looking to transition a lot of my 14U players to someone in great, a great guy with a great program. And I think we can do that. But like I say, we going to make it happen in due time. I'm going to try to get you out there soon just so that, you just give them that option.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You give them that option. So we have this segment of the show where we have one has to go. I'm going to give you two options. One has to go. Jerry Rice or Randy Moss?
One has to go.
He's thinking, people.
Man, listen, it's tough.
What about you, Chuck? Well, you had to pick one. Which one?
One has to go. Randy's got to go. I mean, Jerry Rice did more with less. So as far as ability, like he wasn't 6'4", he didn't run a 4'3", and he still put up astronomical numbers that Randy Moss could never touch.
Yes, he did.
So it's you, Coach Jackson.
Man, listen, I think, man, I'm gonna regret saying this, but I think Jerry got to go.
Jerry
got to go, man.
All right, so Chinese food or soul food?
Chinese food.
Yeah, that ain't no question.
Kind of question.
Hey, it's different for some people. Devin Hester or Deion Sanders?
He's giving him a weird look right now for the question. Trust me. I understand. Okay. I'm thinking the same thing in my head.
Okay, so are we talking about in terms of special teams or just
any aspect of football?
Any time versus prime time.
Any aspect of football.
I apologize.
Tyreek Hill or Odell Beckham Jr.?
That's a good one there.
Yeah, that is.
Odell gotta go. Tyreek Hill, that speed is just different.
Yeah.
But did you know he could take a slant? He could take a slant 90 to the crib.
Yes, he can.
I think Odell is more just, he's a good player.
Very good, very good.
But I think he's more famous just for that one-handed catch, man.
No, I mean, he can play. He's a baller. He's a baller. That catch put him over the top.
That catch, literally.
I'll take Odell on that one.
You take Odell on that?
I think I have to.
Chick-fil-A or Chipotle? Chick-fil-A gotta go for me.
Yeah, for me. Chick-fil-A gotta go. Chick-fil-A gotta go
all day long.
And the last one, we're gonna take it to the movies.
Okay.
You've seen Rudy, right?
Yes.
You've seen The Blind Side.
Yes.
Blind Side or Rudy?
Taking Rudy all day long.
Rudy's my movie.
I'm taking Rudy all day long, man.
I don't know. I would go Blind Side.
Go Blind Side?
I think Blind Side's a better movie than the Rudy.
Rudy is motivational, man.
Listen,
Blind Side was motivation.
You talking about a kid that came from nothing, that's 5'5" to play defensive end?
He played one play.
Okay.
He played one play.
No.
He played one play. He got it. Oh, excuse me, a special team.
You know what? He may have played one play, but his impact on that team because of hard he worked carried through all those other players.
What kind of impact did Michael Lord have on anywhere he went, including the Carolina Panthers? Like everywhere he went, he had impact.
But not that Rudy impact.
You know how he'll get? Let me tell you something about Hugh Freeze. Where's Hugh Freeze without? Y'all know Hugh Freeze? He was a coach. Yeah. He's currently a Division I coach because of Michael Lord. He was a high school coach. He went with him.
So
Ole Miss. So he went to Ole Miss because of Michael Lord.
You have to have a movie night with your players.
Yeah.
Do you show Rudy or The Blind Side?
If I was at Berean Christian, I'd show Rudy. I'd just be real. You know, if I had something new, but I show him The Blind Side.
You got to think.
Blind Side. Come on, he came from nothing. Mama was a crackhead or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if I was respectful to say whatever, but in the movie, that's what they portray or whatever. She came from nothing. Come on, he was a homeless kid walking on the sidewalk in the rain with a grocery
But you know
bag.
that's movie stuff.
He said a lot of stuff. He said a lot of stuff that was real. He said the biggest thing that was fake about it was like him not knowing how to play football. He was like All-American in basketball and football. Like he was.
So I look at it from a motivational standpoint. Just think of that kid who's been counted out their entire life.
Right.
Rudy is going to give them hope.
Yeah.
Like it.
He persevered through everything.
Everything, man. Like
Michael Lord did too.
But think about it though.
He was just big.
It means more to me with a kid. Just think of that player got to get a work study job just to pay for tuition.
Right.
Who's literally sleeping in the storage room.
I agree. I'm not saying it's not a great movie, But I'm saying out of those two, Blindside is better. Motivational. Blindside made it to the NFL. Like, come on, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you gotta work study and everything, but you want to play. Like, you don't want to make it work study and play one play. You want to at least play all 4 years of college. Now you may not make it to the NFL, but you're gonna play consistently. Like, his kid came from nothing, the actual nothing, with a real hood where you could get killed at any point in time. And
I love it too. It's so hard.
But I'm saying, when you comparing things, you're making one sound less than the other. But Rudy is a great movie.
Okay, so let me just throw this one in because we asked this one a few episodes ago. Friday Night Lights or Remember the Titans?
I would go Friday Night Lights on that one.
See, what I said, Friday Night Lights.
I like Remember the Titans.
Yeah, I like it too.
It's a great movie.
But it's two different...
It's a great movie.
Yeah. But it's two different times. But here's the thing. When I think about Friday nights, like Friday Night Lights,
shutting the city down.
Yeah. But you gotta think, again, I'm from Palatka. So
right.
I get it. Like 5 o'clock. Everything closed.
Straight football.
Yeah.
Right.
Everybody in the stadium.
They don't do that here in West Palm. 5 o'clock, everything opening up at 5 o'clock.
Literally.
So we ain't got nobody in the stands now. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So Real As It Get Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Real As It Get Pod.
Yeah.
Real As It Get Pod on Twitter. Real As It Get Podcast on Instagram.
Yep. On Facebook.
Real As It Get Podcast show on Facebook. At Javaris Neely for me.
At Chuck C is me for me.
Hey, that's episode number 4. Coach Jackson, it was an honor.
One more time, Coach. What's your Twitter and your Instagram? One more time.
All right, it's Twitter and Instagram is Coach_Jack83.
There you go.
Got you. Hey, episode 4. We signing off.
Yes, sir.
All right, appreciate y'all, man.
Yep.